Welcome to EnVision Center News, where we discuss community impact and involvement with today's nonprofit leaders and philanthropists.
Tanya, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. I'm so excited to talk about the Ren Fair and get into all the details and all the fun stuff that's coming to our community just in a week away, basically.
Yes.
But first, let's just tell our audience a little bit about yourself. Like, why are you a Ren Fair girl now? Like, does that start as a child, as a little girl? Were you kind of interested in this and it blossomed, or did it come later in life?
Well, I grew up in that taboo place called California. So I think Renaissance fairs are just a way of life as a child down there.
Okay.
It's just you attend them. And then always having a love for history, a love for Tudor history, the costuming. And so it kind of came about in a way where I was working at Wells Fargo with a handful of women, and we all loved history. We loved Tudor costumes, and we were like, gosh, we wish we could just dress like this now. And our fair director, Anita Pugh, had attended a Comic-Con, it was the first year here for Sandpoint. And
There was a Comic-Con here?
There was a Comic-Con here at one point.
Wow.
That was in 2016. And so she left there. She volunteered and left, and she called me up and she says, "What do you think about having a Renaissance fair?" And so, of course, I screamed as loud as I could, and that was my answer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how it just fell about. It was really, we were wanting to bring something to the community that was a fun event that also gave back to the community. And so it was a collaboration of thoughts and ideas, and just having that history as a child, I think, made it seem doable.
So were you usually, up until this point, were you somebody who just attended them, or were you already plugged in, or like in California, had you been a part of, did you costume? Did you have a booth?
No, I really wasn't. No, none of us really were. And, just as a kid, I had been exposed to what a Renaissance fair was. But no. And so we had decided to go attend both the Spokane Renaissance Fair and the Leavenworth Renaissance Fair. And that's where we started off, and then, following the Texas Ren Fair. So really it was all new discovery and education for us when we started.
Did the people who ran the one in Leavenworth and the one in Spokane, did they give you a lot of tips, and were you able to connect with them personally, whoever was running those fairs? Yes,
there was connection there. We were welcomed as part of the Renaissance community, so that was really friendly and kind, and just a good start for us to be able to go and attend those fairs. And I believe they had even accommodated our board members to attend. And so it was just really kind of a welcoming into the Renaissance communities. And then the Texas Renaissance Fair, we ended up getting a guidebook on some of their structures and the way they handle things.
What's the Texas Is that something that tours around?
The Texas Renaissance Fair is a huge Renaissance fair, and it's actually a stable location. So they have actual buildings there, and it goes on for weeks. So it's known as one of the most profound Renaissance fairs. And then you have the Oregon Renaissance Fair. So Anita, our fair director, she personally has spent time traveling around to these fairs, learning and educating, and just kind of becoming knowledgeable with the taking on of doing a fair.
Yeah, which is, it's a lot. So what year was the first fair?
Our first fair was in 2017.
17. So that was pretty quick. In 2016 was the comment, and like the next year you were like, we're doing it.
We're going, yes, done. Or maybe, don't quote me on that. Maybe 2018. I think 2017, but yes, 2017 is correct. Yeah. We got going. We weren't messing around. We said, let's do this, and we started, and
I love it. Yeah. So what the first part probably was just getting a location, or what was the first step of having to plan it to say we're going to do this in the next year or so.
Yes, that's exactly what we did. We started looking for locations. And one of the first locations we actually looked at was the Eureka Camp Institute out in Sagal. And that's actually where we formed our board members. We were leaving that site after visiting, and 4 of us were there, and so we had determined at that time we were gonna form the board at the Eureka Center, and that's where we started. And we didn't have our fair there that year. We ended up at the Woods Rock Quarry.
Okay.
And yeah.
But now you have now it's always going to be in the same place every year, or are you always like looking for, is there something that about the location of it currently that maybe a need isn't being met, and so you're always kind of searching for a different location?
Ironic you bring that up. Yes. So we started out at, the Woods Rock Quarry. We didn't expect to have very many people there. We ended up with 1,500, which was more than I think we could have imagined. We would have been happy to have a picnic in the field.
Yeah.
And so it had just kept growing after that. We were actually out at Jessie Lean's property for a few years, and she's a dressage and drill instructor, and for Wild Hearts Equestrian. And so they had hosted our fair for a few years, and we just kept growing. Every year we just got bigger and bigger. And so we had finally made it to Bonner County Fairgrounds. And that felt like a success in its own, it was like, okay, we made it.
Yeah.
And that was right after COVID. It was a huge comeback. It was a huge fair, more people than we could have expected, which was really beautiful and wonderful. And I think there was just excitement. I think everybody was like ready to do something.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, our cost has increased immensely with Bonner County Fairgrounds.
Just the rental cost?
The rental cost has more than doubled.
Yeah.
And so there's just, logistics. And so, yes, we are always looking for property. If anyone out there knows of property, definitely give us a call. But yeah, it's something to keep in mind. Last year we had about 7,000 people.
Wow. That's so many people.
That's a lot of people over a weekend.
Yeah. For Sandpoint, like we think of ourselves as kind of a small little dot on the map, but 7,000 is nothing to scoff at.
Yes.
And how many vendors is it typically?
I want to say around 75. I want to say we're between 75, 100 vendors this year.
Even that's incredible.
So yeah, we have an incredible amount.
So are most of the vendors, I mean, they can't all be local, right? Like how far are people traveling? Are there people who just follow the Renaissance fairs everywhere and that's their job, is they have booths at Renaissance fairs, or how does that work?
Yes, both. You have people who are Renaissance Fair followers, and so they book their booths, and then they try to pre-locate with the Renaissance fairs around location. So as a respect, Renaissance fairs try not to book their fairs on the same weekends as other big fairs as well. So there's always something with that. But we also have a lot of local merchants, and we do try to keep as much as we can local in that aspect, because we want to support the local artisans and families. And
for sure. And yeah, I guess I should have asked you this at the very beginning, because I'm sort of assuming people know what a Renaissance Fair is. But there's probably people who are like, I kind of feel like I know what a Renaissance Fair is. Maybe what is it? What's a Renaissance Fair?
A Renaissance Fair is a celebration. So it's a fair based on typically Tudor English history. And if you think of the Renaissance era, that was Queen Elizabeth I, and that's where our fair basis is. Some fairs will have Henry VIII and one or a few of his wives. Some fairs are medieval fairs, but all kind of the same alike. But it's that time period. It's that, 1300 to 1600 England era.
And do you have to show up in a costume when you go to a Ren Fair?
No.
Do you stick out like a sore thumb if you're not in costume?
No, it's you get both. You get everyone and everything, and you have families. Half the family comes in costume, half of them don't. It's those who want to feel comfortable in them, and those who don't feel comfortable walking around in, their shorts and shirts. It's such a that was the other thing when creating the Ren Fair. It was important to us. We all cared very much about mental health and giving back to the community. So that was something that we had wanted, and I'll go into that in a second. But the other thing was that we wanted an event that catered to anyone. So it wasn't age specific or genre specific. You could bring your children, your aunt, your uncle, your grandparent. It didn't matter if you were 2 years old or 90. Mm-hmm. You could find something to enjoy at the fair. And we wanted it to emphasize. So when you're going back in time and coming into the fair, we wanted to engulf you in every sense of that time by sight, sound, smell, touch, all of it. And so when you come in, you smell the turkey legs and you hear the music and you see the vibrant colors and you hear the clinkering of the metals. And so it's just something really to create for anyone can come. And not everyone dresses Renaissance Fair time period. We get all kinds of characters, and it's really beautiful. It's just about expression and freedom.
Yeah, and I've heard you can kind of go like fantasy with it too, and dress up like a Tolkien style elf or something like that. So you get some of that as well, right?
Oh yeah, we have elves and we have mushrooms and we have mermaids and fairies and pirates, and so it really does create it. There's that historical aspect of it, and you have the historian lovers. And then we also have Vikings at our fair as well. So that takes you back, even though Elizabeth is there, we've also got the Vikings. Yeah. So it's anything and everything, I think, for just that expression. Yeah.
And what does the entertainment look like? You mentioned music and that kind of like, what can you expect to see or experience other than merchants, booths?
Yes, all kinds of entertainment. So as you're walking around, we have minstrels playing, and we have comedians. One of them, Zupa Dizonia, they've been with us since the very beginning. A fun group. We have.
Are they like dressed up as like the court jester kind of thing? Okay.
Yes, yep. Court gestures, and they tell jokes, and it's kind of theater style. And then you have beautiful belly dancers. We have fire dancers. We have vertical elements. We have jousting. That's probably the number one thing that for entertainment that you want to see at a Renaissance fair.
Like on horses?
On horses, jousting, and the knights that fight and they get into battle and with swords. And the entertainment just doesn't stop. It's everywhere you turn the corner in the fair. There's something to see that's exciting.
Yeah. Is it, you said all ages can come, but are there some things that aren't appropriate for all? Like, is there people who are sometimes scantily clad that maybe children wouldn't want to be exposed to?
I don't think I've ever seen anything so scantily clad at our fair that would be offensive. I don't think we've run into that, no. And yes, we do have an ale house. No, the kiddies are not welcome to drink in the ale house. And that's actually run by, and has been since the beginning, our local VFW Vietnam Veterans chapter.
Nice.
And we are actually one of the only fairs. We do not take commission on any alcohol sales. So all alcohol sales go to that chapter.
Wow. And
they support veterans with PTSD.
Wow. That circling back to the mental health
yes.
piece too. Is there any other, I'm sure there's many, like nonprofits or organizations that you partner with in various ways?
Not so much partner with. So to give back to the community, each board member chooses a nonprofit that they want to support. And so we take 1% of gross proceeds and we put that back into each one of those nonprofits. In the past, we've always allowed people to bring cans of food to discount their tickets that we would donate to the food bank. Last year, we went to online ticket sales, and so we ended up just sending the food bank a check to help them out as well. So proceeds have gone back to Bonner County Food Bank, Helping Hands, Healing Hearts, the Music Conservatory, the Panetta Theater, the Christian Community Church or School. So just various.
A wide variety.
Yeah, wide
lots
variety.
of stuff.
Yes,
Lots of really cool stuff.
diversity. And I think that was why we have each board member pick one, so that there's not one way towards this or towards
Right.
that. We're really trying to just give back
Yeah,
to as many people as we can.
And so you just mentioned tickets. How much are tickets, or what does it cost to get your family in the door? And then they're buying them online.
You can buy online, or you can buy there at the fair. And forgive me, I should know that answer. I want to say $20. It's a tiered rate, so
Like kids or littles are one, and then it goes up. From
yeah,
there.
and it's on our website. I could pull it up and give you a quote there.
Anybody can go look at it. It's how many days?
2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
Okay, and what are the hours of those days?
From 10 to 6.
10 to 6, both days. Is
Both
there any
days,
kind of like fireworks thing or something that closes the fair out, or anything special? Like, I guess, what are some maybe events or entertainment pieces that like this happens at noon or this happens at 3 that you want to highlight, if there's anything?
We do have a schedule that we put out there. The joust is always, I want to say, the biggest thing. That's where, our scheduling is. And so the joust happens twice a day, both days, Saturday and Sunday, and that's in the Royal Arena. That's probably the biggest show. And that's, because you're filling the stadium. And so that's usually, the fair opens up at 10. The joust is usually around 11 and 4. And that's usually the big show that ends the fair on the Sunday. So
Okay.
Her Majesty comes out before each joust. She gives a speech and kind of welcomes everyone. And then the big show happens. So it's kind of, that's like the big thing that happens. Yeah.
Is there how much practice or rehearsing has to go in? Are these just guys that do it at all the Renaissance fairs, so they kind of just know it's plug and play for them?
Both. There's a lot of rehearsal and practice that has to take place. As somebody, myself, even for writing over the years, it's taken time and lessons.
You joust?
No, I do not joust. No, thank you.
Lady jouster.
There are lady jousters,
sure,
and they are great. But so for the Knights, Seattle Knights, they practice quite regularly. And then, of course, they have other venues as well. But that takes a special kind of relationship between that rider and their horse. That horse is the athlete. They're the ones working. And there's just really a precision and a rhythm with that and the horses know what they're doing, that it becomes their routine, it becomes their job. And so it takes a lot of work. Yeah.
Is that I guess actually with the rehearsing question, do they have to rehearse, like how far in advance do you have to have like the fairgrounds for the people to get in there and rehearse whatever it is that they need to do? Is there any of that, or?
So yes, we get in there on Wednesday before the fair and the arena. So when Seattle Knights show up, they'll do a couple runs, but their horses are already arena trained. They have already been practicing and they know this arena.
Yeah.
But they will definitely do a couple run throughs and just kind of have that acquaintance.
Right.
Yeah.
Remind you, we've been here before, but this is what it's like. Yeah. And what are you looking for with kind of more like the artisans, the vendors that are selling goods and stuff? Is there something specific? Like, do you ever turn people away who are like, I have this jewelry I want to sell or whatever, and you're like, that doesn't really fit our vibe, or is it less restrictive?
We do try to stay within. So again, going back to sight, sound, the vision, we do try to stay within that feeling of that era. And so with our artisans, we want them to have their booths decorated because that's what people are seeing. So we do have some restrictions and pre-qualifications for that. And we also have actually gotten to the point where we have so many, they have to get their applications in early because in fairness to them, we do put a cap on how many we accept. And so if, it's kind of first come, first serve on getting your application in.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your favorite part about the Ren Fair? And maybe you have an answer like for Ren Fairs generally, but then maybe there's something like specific about this one, or maybe they're one and the same.
I think for me, my favorite entertainment has always been the joust. That just is my personal entertainment. But for me personally, my favorite part is the look in a child's eye, the excitement, and them being so present in that moment, and the feeling that you can just see bursting from their little faces. I actually play the role of Elizabeth I.
Okay, I was gonna ask. Like, I mean, you look the part in a good way, in a great way.
So it's a very touching, heartfelt moment. And so her and her court, when they go around the fair, her ladies have queen's favors that they give to the children. And so they'll ask them, would you like a favor from the queen? And there are these little silk banners that they can wave at the joust, and talking to them, asking them what their dreams are. It's just so enlightening for yourself. It's what you do for them and see their smiles. It just warms your entire being. They're very beautiful. And some of the children, if you see, she'll see some of the knights around the fair and offer them to knight them with their swords. And so she does this little blessing with them that they'll say and repeat after her. And it's just quite cute. And then also each year, she has knighted children who have been volunteers at the fair by default. So parents are there volunteering and working and setting up and going to all these meetings, and these children get just handed tasks, busy little hands. Maybe they're folding things or they're, it's just, but they're volunteering. And so one thing Her Majesty has always done, just to reinstate gratitude and the importance of giving back to community in reward to these children, she knights one or two fair children every year.
Yeah.
And yeah.
It's got to be so fun. Were you always Elizabeth the first, like from the first Ren Fair? Not
the very first year. The very first year, we didn't know what we were doing. I knew I was queen. So I went as the Queen of Sandpoint, and we had this story about Sandpoint and a dragon in the sand.
Yeah.
And after that first fair with feedback, we had realized that we really needed to bring it in to that Renaissance era. And we had discussed Mary Queen of Scots or Elizabeth I. And well, Mary Queen of Scots, she was beheaded, so I went with Elizabeth.
She was close to some folks that got beheaded, but she didn't get beheaded, right? That's the thing with Elizabeth. What do you think about? There's a movie, right, with the two of them. Maybe you haven't seen it.
Yes, I have seen it. I've seen all of the,
because it's Margot Robbie.
Margot Robbie,
yeah,
yes.
And then
that was actually an excellent version, I would say, of their two characters.
Yeah.
Really, that was a strong, powerful execution on both their parts for those women. I think that was.
So you'd recommend it? I haven't seen it, but
definitely.
I've had it like kind of in the back of my mind. Like I used to read the this series of books called The Royal Diaries. Have you
Yes.
heard of those? I read
Yes.
all of them when I was a
Okay.
kid, and so that was my introduction to. There's one for Elizabeth, and there's one for Mary, Queen of Scots. So that's how I learned. That's how I learned about Cleopatra. All these royal figures around the world I was introduced to because of those books.
Yes.
I think the other famous. Well, this is not about Elizabeth, but King Henry is the other Boleyn girl, which is total
Yes.
fiction,
So
right? But
Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth's mother,
Yeah.
and then King Henry. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is probably honestly one of my favorite Tudor stories.
Yeah.
That story in itself.
I have not seen the movie, but I read the book like a year or two ago, pretty recently, and it is a barn burner. I mean, I'm like, you are flying through. It's immensely entertaining. That book, not appropriate for children, but
Yeah, probably not.
immensely entertaining book, and I have yet to watch the movie. So it's fun for me to. My family is hopefully going to go to the Renaissance Fair this year. We're really looking forward to it. Is there any misconceptions that people have about Renaissance fairs, or things that you hear where you're like, that's not really how it works, or that's not what you should expect?
Not that I've seen. I think the people that go typically
They get it.
They get it, and yeah. So not that I've run into. No.
Well, that's fantastic. That's great. Is there any piece of the Renaissance Fair that we didn't touch on yet that you would like people to know? It's coming up, not this weekend, but the next weekend, last weekend of June. It's 2 days. It's basically all day, 10 to 6,
10 to
right?
6, yeah.
Both those days. And tickets are available for purchase online. I'm sure they can just Google Sandpoint Renaissance Fair.
SandpointRenaissanceFair.com.
There you go.
Fair is Faire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so online, a lot of information is on there. It's just a great event. It's, come see it, enjoy, and quite a special event. And
how much to have people really understand like what it is that you and your board and like your volunteers do. Once this Renaissance Fair is over, you catch your breath. How quickly are you planning for the next one? You take a month off and then you're already planning for the next one, or?
So our board will take, we have required quarterly meetings that, we address. And so we take at the end of the fair, we take into account any of the comments. That's where we're kind of debriefing. We're going over everything, what went well, what didn't go well, what do we need. So we're really at that time reanalyzing that fair and what we just experienced, and then kind of making our ideas and plans like, okay, that we need to make sure that doesn't happen again. We need to make sure to do more of this. And so that's really kind of the start of, and then taking in a lot of the comments and ideas and what's really important to the guest, because that's where we get most of the feedback of an understanding, of what they liked or what their experience was or what they want to see more of. Every year we've tried to make the fair better, bigger, more beautiful. And so we start with that, and then we take a little bit of a break because we need that.
Yeah.
It's really physically, emotionally, mentally, it takes a lot to put this fair on. And so we take a little bit of a break, and then we come back right after the first of the year full get.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is kind of one of your, or maybe you have a couple of your biggest needs? Maybe not for this, this fair is about to happen. Maybe you do have some things that people could plug into in the next week and beyond. Are there any kind of positions or skills or anything that you're looking for from the community that you want to put out there?
Volunteers, we're always looking for volunteers, and there's such a variety of need and direction for volunteers. So usually just going onto the website and saying, I'm interested in being a volunteer, and then you put in what your skills are, and we will find a place for you. It takes a tribe. It takes the community to pull together. And donations are very helpful for us. We get donations from Mr. Sub. Second Avenue has donated in the past. Jalapenos has donated. So they've all donated food during our prep time. So Wednesday through Friday, when we have all these volunteers out there working, prepping, setting up, getting ready for this fair. We've had a lot of beautiful community help in feeding them and making sure our volunteers are taken care of. The better we do. We try to give more to the community. We try to give back more. We try to bigger, better entertainment. So it's just,
Well, great. That's wonderful. So, folks, you heard it. If you want to volunteer, there's lots of opportunities, as with every nonprofit on earth.
Yes.
Always need more volunteers, but this is a really fun way to volunteer, I guess. And Tanya, thank you for what you do and this group of people that is putting this on. This is really special to have something like this in our backyard, and so thank you.
Thank you so much. And if I can, I would like to give a special thank you to my royal court and the ladies of the court. They are ladies that donate their time to multiple different charities within this community. And so they really are a true essence of graceful ladies.
That's what we love. We love at the EnVision Center, we're all about everybody has their foot in usually 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 nonprofits. So
yes, you would probably recognize them from a few events.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. For more information, you can go to crecidaho.com. Please like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you again soon.